The finale of Core 1 is here, and with it we have the deciding of matchups, as well as the start of our first fight that I'm sure some of you are dying to see, and of course, loads of cut content. As this episode covered around 100 pages, we start in a meeting where it's time to discuss the demands officially. Subaru reaffirms the idea of the artificial spirit being about Beatrice, and Otto speaks up. Actually, he's the one with the Tome of Wisdom. Cue confusion on everyone's faces. Otto has no intention of saying more than that though, only giving them tidbits of information. When Otto found it, it was all burnt up and not usable anymore, so he found a guy in Pristella who could use restoration magic to repair it. And that's where he was yesterday. Anything other than that is a matter of internal affairs for the camp. There are two, in my opinion, pretty sizable characterization cuts in this small encounter, which we can get to later. Before long, Liliana bursts into this room in song, and of course, with Liliana, comes Priscilla. Al shoots up in excitement, running to his princess before he gets slammed in the helmet with a fan, knocking him into Liliana. She steps on his head, asking why he was messing around with these commoners instead of serving her, as Subaru and Otto exit the room to discuss the Tome of Wisdom. He tells Subaru that 1 year ago, he picked up the remains of the book at the sanctuary and that he wanted to ascertain its contents due to it belonging to nobody other than Roswell L. Mathers, because he does not trust the Margrave whatsoever. Even before the sanctuary, he would have been scheming all sorts of things, and Otto takes issue with how everyone has seemingly forgiven him. Subaru says he hasn't forgiven him, they just need his power, and Otto interrupts him. It's fine for them to be naive, because Otto will be vigilant on their behalf. As the Internal Affairs officer, he hasn't noticed any schemes from Roswell in the past year, but what if he was planning something before this past year? If Otto can look inside the Tome of Wisdom, he would get insight into any plots Roswell has laid already. The priority is the control tower, so Otto will have to retrieve the book on his own, but Otto is particularly adept at survival as the two fist bump and Wilhelm appears. Otto heads back in, as Subaru asks Wilhelm about Krush to find out that she's woken up and wants to talk to Subaru. Entering the room, he sees Felix covered in blood, seeing Krush covered in a black wriggling mass just like his own leg. Felix digs his nails into his own arm, regretting his powerlessness more than anyone else ever could. Subaru can't help but wonder why. Is this really the same thing he's affected by? It didn't hurt him, nor did it cause him to be bedridden. Krush says how glad she is that he's okay. He had been thinking that it would be so much easier if she just blamed him. Because of that, he had looked down on her noble spirit and doubted her virtue. She had simply been worried for him, worried that he was suffering the same excruciating pain that she was. He feels sorry for doubting her, for her having to suffer like that, for being unable to do anything to relieve her pain. It all melted together into one great ball of remorse, so he reached out and took her limp hand, and for a moment, intense pain coursed through his veins, like he grabbed a red-hot iron. Joining his leg and being covered in a black mess, Subaru's hand now has the curse as well. Ferris tries to heal it, but nothing happens, and when they look over, they can't help but notice that the curse on Krush's arm has faded just a bit. Subaru gets back up and touches Krush's face, and that agonizing curse flows into him again. Taking off his jacket, however, it's not a 1-to-1 transferal, more like a 1-to-10, as his entire arm is now covered in the curse. Despite her pleas to stop, it's not enough to stop Subaru, but Krush refuses again. The people need him more than they need her. He said it himself. Leave everything to him. She tells him to follow through on his word, and to say it one more time, just for her. Just leave everything to me. Ferris asks what he should do, and Subaru says that there will be countless people he can save, but Ferris is crestfallen. He's stuck. He couldn't save the one person he most wanted to. Stepping out, Subaru runs into Wilhelm, who notices his hand, and updates Subaru on the two witch-cult fighters from earlier. The first is 8 Arms Kurgan, the strongest swordsman of the Vlakian Empire, a powerful sword hand who commands 8 arms who should have died over 10 years ago. The other is the previous generation's sword saint, Teresia von Estrella, who should have died 15 years ago on the Great Conquest against the White Whale, a reveal that doesn't shock anybody who knows about the content from earlier in the series. 40 to 50 years ago, the demi-human war was ongoing, and in it, there was a figure who utilized the forbidden art of controlling dead bodies. That person has since been killed, but the problem is the art itself. Wilhelm makes one request: don't tell Reinhard, asking Subaru if he knows about the divine protection of the Sword Saint. What truly separates it is the ability for the divine protection to be passed down within the Estrella family, and the divine protection itself selects the next Sword Saint for the bloodline. In the middle of her battle with the White Whale, the divine protection went to Reinhard, and she became nothing more than an ordinary woman. It was none other than Wilhelm who stole the sword away from his wife, and it was he who made the woman beloved by the sword god abandon her sword. We have a mention of the sword god here, and it's seemingly related to the divine protection. What does that mean? Leave your comments below. As we return to the meeting, there is an air of unbelievability towards something Priscilla just said. She will go to the 4th District and battle with Wrath, along with Liliana. Subaru can confirm that Liliana's voice counters Wrath's authority, though they're unsure why, and asks Reinhard if he has a way to confirm it, before suddenly hearing, "I received it." He wished for the divine protection of judgment, and he got it. And he can now look at someone to tell what divine protections they have, confirming that Liliana is in possession of the divine protection of telepathy. Priscilla and Liliana versus Sirius is locked in, and they move to confirm Wilhelm and Garfield versus Capella. They both have bones to pick, with Garfield and his ever-amounting trauma, and Wilhelm and his dead wife being puppeteered. Reinhard, however, rejects this matchup. Wilhelm cannot steel himself, he isn't cool-headed enough, and Wilhelm understands his grandson's apprehension. He is half-hearted, but because of that, he never once held back in the face of what needed to be done. His fierce grin had banished his gentle expression, and what appeared was the face of a devil starved for blood. When he has decided to bare his sword, his heart burns with an unbearable heat. Not cool-headed. That's how he always is on the battlefield. Wilhelm turns to Subaru and asks him to take Reinhard on the greed fight. A monster who is unaffected by attacks of any kind, it sounds like the perfect battlefield for the Sword Saint. Garfield stands up and asks Reinhard as well, calling himself a failure as a guard. He hasn't been able to carry the role he was given, and because of that, on the biggest stage of this huge fight, he's trying desperately to repay the debts he owes other people instead of fighting for his own camp. Reinhard asks for Garf's word. Just as he has his expectations for Reinhard, he wants Garfield's word that he will follow through on his end as well. Finally, Reinhard and Subaru vs. Regulus is locked in. Subaru vs. Regulus was expected for character-related purposes, and having Reinhard on his side will be a big boost. Subaru apologizes for always relying on Reinhard, but he'll do his best to make up for everything he might be lacking. And Reinhard is shocked for a second. It's a very nice quick moment of Reinhard being surprised at someone realizing that he's human, not thinking the world of him, and thinking that he might have faults. The next matchup to be locked in is Julius and Ricardo versus Gluttony. Of course, they don't seem to be aware that there are two, so both Gluttonies do not get a matchup, meaning one will be loose somewhere in the city. There is a bit of cut information that anime-onlys might like to know about the matchups, but we'll save it for the end as usual. We cut to the church and see Regulus and Amelia in their wedding outfits, as Regulus thinks how smart of a choice it was to leave the 79th seat open. She then asks why it was open, and he responds that there was someone who fit it before, but something changed and he cannot marry them. Emilia has a few things to tell Regulus before they get married, and he agrees. It's only natural to discuss things before marriage. First things first, Emilia is forbidden to smile. He goes on a rant about people falling out of love. If you love them, why would you drift apart over something as trivial as mere aesthetic differences? That's why he chooses based on faces. As long as they have a face he loves, his love will never fade, even if they are a serial murderer or don't pick up their clothes. Some people become ugly when they smile. Really, any and all changes of expression are out of bounds. He can't bear to think their faces might become ugly. If you weren't sold on my prior comparisons to Regulus and Subaru before, I feel this one really drives it home. Not that Subaru is out there calling people ugly because they smile, because Regulus is supposed to be a much more extreme and twisted version of old Subaru's ideals, which makes it so fitting that they will be pit against each other. Subaru made a service-level decision to follow Emilia, and had an image of her in his head that she can never live up to, and now Regulus has done the exact same thing, the image of Emilia's unsmiling face that he never wants to change, except he'll go as far as to never change, unlike Subaru. Emilia says marriage is something happy. It happens when you find someone you really love and it's really amazing, so why do you refer to your wives as a number? He dodges. It's a fixation on form of address, another mode of obsessing over form. Lack of confidence in your ability to continue your love without unnecessary trappings. Emilia agrees, but she doesn't hate it when Subaru calls her Emilia-tan. Hearing that name, Regulus freezes. That's a man. You're standing at the altar with me and saying another man's name. Isn't that irrational? It's hurtful, in fact. You know that, right? It's as if it's a violation of his rights. Regulus tells the entire hall full of wives not to move, or he'll erase everything below her head, pointing straight at 184. Emilia tells him that she hasn't loved someone before, but she knows who she will love. I will not be yours. A powerful crack resounded through the chapel, and something struck Regulus head on. A wooden door, to be precise. Subaru can't help but remark how the results of them kicking the doors in was so different, and Regulus says they have some nerve barging into a sacred wedding. Who are you and what gifts have you brought? Natsuki Subaru, a spirit knight whose spirit is currently not present, and Reinhard von Estrella of the Sword Saint family. Subaru points at Regulus, his expression hardening. I object to this wedding. I'll be taking that bride. And thus, the curtains fall on ReZero Season 3, Core 1. All in all, what'd you guys think of this core? Anime-onlys and novel readers, please let me know, because I've been trying to cast as wide net as possible on this to determine how things are going. I would love to hear your thoughts. Overall, a pretty solid core ender. The character art of this season has been exceptional so far, with great lighting and great backgrounds, and also some great character acting. I'm just hoping that this core ender is good for the anime-onlys to stay locked in, lying in wait for February to come. If you're an anime-only, please do let me know. We have Subaru, Reinhard, and Emilia versus Regulus, Liliana and Priscilla versus Sirius, Wilhelm and Garf against Capella, and Julius and Ricardo against Gluttony. We have a few cuts this episode that I think are kind of sad. The anime has been kind of sucking out the tension of some scenes, and I'm not sure why, but first things first. Upon Reinhard's entrance, he apologizes to everyone for being so late, and Subaru goes, "Yeah, what the hell, man?" and asks if he can count on him. Reinhard replies that he will live up to his expectations. Reinhard and Otto explain their circumstances, with Otto telling Subaru he will pay back his debts so Subaru can save the city. He was letting Subaru know that he wouldn't let him shoulder the fate of the city alone, as Subaru feels an intense embarrassment at having his tough guy act seen through. Who did Subaru think he was? Someone who could decide the fate of a city? A symbol of hope and the people's wishes? It was ridiculous to even imagine. Otto tells him if they take his little strength and Otto's little strength and add on Garfield's stupid amount of strength, it all adds up to something quite sizable in the quest to save the Watergate City. Next, after hearing about the Tome of Wisdom being in Otto's possession, the air in the room goes cold. Julius accuses him for being to blame for this, but Otto fires back, implying it's all the fault of Anastasia for bringing them here to begin with, if they want to use that logic. Julius apologizes, and Otto looks at Subaru, telling him they will discuss it later. Subaru informs the room that Beatrice is an artificial spirit, and tells Otto about Amelia's contact, who is blown away that she did something that sophisticated. With Amelia's info and Otto's recollection of gluttony, they can narrow down who was in every tower. Subaru asks Al what he's sulking about, and Al replies he isn't sulking. It wouldn't be cute for an old man like him. Subaru tells Al he wants him to help out this time, fight the good fight so he can save his love. Subaru asks this, holding his hand out to Al, and in response, however, Al told him if that's really how he feels, he isn't against helping out, brushing away Subaru's hand in annoyance. Things are much more tense between Al and Subaru in the novels. Couple more small pieces of cut content. First, we actually knew that Kurgan died a long time ago in the novels. Back during Volume 8 or Arc 3, we learned that the two most famous archbishops are Sloth and Greed, with Regulus being most known for going to Wallachia and destroying the city of Garkla in his warpath, also killing the hero of Wallachia, 8 Arms Kurgan. Second, I'm not sure why this was cut, but if you were wondering what fight Al is going to, it's none. Al and the Iron Fang are tasked with staying behind to protect City Hall, and the fact that the anime cut this makes Al look weirdly inconsistent about his drive to protect Priscilla. The last cut is a very small one at the end of the episode, where Regulus is about to start attacking Amelia. She isn't just sitting there ready to die. She takes a battle-ready stance as the two are about to trade blows, then Reinhard and Subaru come in. I have no idea why this didn't make it in, considering it's a couple of frames at most, but it's another cut of someone in ReZero doing cool stuff for some reason. Amelia's not just sitting there waiting for Regulus to kill her, it's kind of a kick in the balls to Amelia's story of not waiting for people to do things for her. And that will do it for ReZero Core 1. Please do subscribe if you would like to stay tuned for Core 2, because I will be active between core breaks, and I'll be right back here an hour or so after episode release to drop an episode video in February. Thank you guys for sticking with it this far if you have, and I'll see you for the counterattack half. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe for more. You can also check the description down below to become a member, which gives you benefits like early videos, membership badges, and cool custom emotes. You can join the Discord where we talk about ReZero, Kagurabachi, Jujutsu Kaisen, and all kind of stuff. Additionally, you can go to the channel store and pick up some awesome stickers made by our channel artist, so you can carry the power of Grafia with you on your water bottle. That's about it though. Thank you for watching. See ya.